which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room, like you giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flag wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball. When the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. All right, welcome in on a very happy Friday now, March the 7th. That's right, madness is here, and we've got plenty of college basketball on tap here tonight. Actually, a pretty busy Friday slate, thanks to a whole lot of conference tournament action with the mid-majors, 31 games on the schedule, and usually we have about 11 or 12 on a Friday, but it is good because college basketball started just after noon today, in fact, with a little Missouri Valley madness happening in St. Louis. And we've got much more coming up here throughout the night, leading up to what is going to be a pretty big final Saturday of the regular season for the Power Four conferences. But tonight we got plenty going on. The Big Ten will be in full effect. Still a lot of jockeying for position when it comes to the conference tournaments. We got Mountain West action. The MAC will be playing here tonight, the Atlantic 10 and the American Athletic Conference. And, of course, the conference tournaments already underway. Big South, Ohio Valley, Sun Belt, the Summit, the CAA, and the SoCon getting ready to kick off here tonight. So we got a little something for everybody when it comes to the madness known as March. I'm Joe Raineri here on GameTime Decisions on the SportsGrid Network. Certainly appreciate you stopping by as we get you ready for the madness here all weekend long. We also have plenty of NBA action taking center stage here tonight. Plenty of games that are going to get ready to tip off here coming up at the top of the next hour. And this is the time of year where you want to be very careful and certainly understand on a Friday exactly who will be playing and who won't be playing for some of these NBA teams, especially when you're looking, when you're looking at a spread like you are with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and you're trying to figure out exactly, wait a minute, why is the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the Portland Trailblazers, and we only have, 3? If the line is 3, well, that's because this is one of those games where Oh, yeah, let's look at who's not playing tonight. Has SGA sound, has Lou Dort sound, has Jalen Williams, Isaiah Hartenstein, Carson Wallace also. And we even have a Chet Holmgren listed as questionable with either injuries or I don't know what you want to call it, rest management, injury management, whatever it is. The bottom line is we will not be seeing the usual suspects for the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight, which is why this number is very telling. That means you're going to have Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso, and you've got a Blazers team, by the way, who has won 15 of their last 22 games, and they are very much alive and fighting for that 10th seed in the Western Conference. So this is a game. Don't let the line fool you. It's -3 for Oklahoma City simply because they have decided to play absolutely nobody against this Portland Trailblazers team. And Portland, well, they got a lot to say, and they are battling, and we have told you all week long here, those of you that have joined us, the Portland Trailblazers have been an ATM machine when it comes to covering games, especially in spots like this, on the road, catching points. This has got outright win written all over it. Now, it won't be easy, but this Portland team, many folks have written them off months ago, just chalked it up to another losing season for Portland, and they're not any good. Well, the reason they have racked up as many wins against the spread as they have this year is because the market just does not adjust to it at all. They are starting to adjust to it because even with all of these guys out on the Oklahoma City Thunder, if this was a month ago, same roster, same everything, we would be looking at the Portland Trailblazers catching probably about 6 or 7 points. But the market's still far from corrected as far as I'm concerned when it comes to the Portland Trailblazers. But that is a game where you might have written it off and said, nope, the look-ahead line was -15. Did you hear that? -15 is what the Oklahoma City Thunder last night until we learned nobody be playing for them. And now it dropped all the way down to -3. So that game has got a little bit of juice here tonight. Also, another game that's got a little bit of juice. How about Minnesota taking on Miami? Another game in which Miami, boy, they let one slip away the other night. Miami had absolutely nobody playing for them. Tyler Hero and company were out the other night, and yet they took the Cleveland Cavs to the wire. They had an opportunity to win that game late, but unfortunately just couldn't make enough shots, or I should say they did make enough shots, but after a 10-minute review by the refs, they decided that Duncan Robinson's tying 3 with 17 seconds left, his toe might have been out of bounds when he hit it. So, unfortunately, did not go the way of the Miami Heat, but they'll have an opportunity to right this ship tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves. These two teams played earlier in the year, back in November, I believe, and it was a tight ball game then, but both of these teams looked and felt a lot different than what they are here tonight. And by the way, both kind of sitting there battling for position in the postseason. Miami gone through so many changes over the last couple of months, not even remotely close to the team that they were, dealing with some injuries, of course. Jovic out, Kelly Ware was hurt, and of course we know Wiggins is always questionable. Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez Jr. has been dealing with a rolled ankle, but it does look like Rozier and company that Miami will have its full complement ready to go here tonight. Good news for Minnesota is it looks like Mike Conley will be available tonight. Looks like he has been cleared to play, while Rudy Gobert will likely see him over the weekend, according to reports. But this is a sneaky good game here tonight with the home team catching 4.5, 5 points Well, they were catching a boatload against the Cavs, and that was far too many points to be given Miami the other night. This might be far too many points to be giving them here at home as well. But maybe the New York Knicks can finally put a win together here. Why? Well, they're not playing an elite team. They're not playing the Lakers. They're not playing the Cavs. They're not playing Boston. They're not playing Oklahoma City. Teams in which they are proven all year long, they are not good enough to beat. However, when you take a team on like the Clippers, well, the Clippers, now this is a team the Knicks can beat. Why? Because they're not very good. And the Knicks always seem to beat up not very good teams. Jalen Brunson rolled his ankle last night in that overtime loss to the Lakers. Not available here tonight. It does look like they will have Karl Anthony Towns available to them, and they're going to need all the help they can get because they can't go on this road trip and start 0-2 to the LA teams. +7? Boy, does that feel like a big number for the New York Knicks here tonight. We'll talk more about it. We're just getting started. Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. But it came to a bend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on this Friday. It's the Sports Grid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Certainly appreciate you stopping by as we got 31 games on a college basketball slate here. It is the month of March, which means madness is upon us here as conference tournaments for the mid-majors taking center stage this week, not to mention the final regular season games for the Power Four conferences here. We've got a couple of teams in action here tonight, including the Mountain West in a big spot here. A couple of pretty big important games, in fact, for the Mountain West here tonight, as Boise State will be at home jockeying for position. They are looking to take on Colorado State, who has quietly now, I believe, won their last 6 games. So they are not going to be an easy out, and positioning certainly matters when it comes to conference tournaments here. So don't sleep on some of these out west games, the Mountain West, in fact. Some of these games that remain, the final regular season game, including UNLV taking on New Mexico. That is your late night game here tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern time tip in the pit. It is senior day for New Mexico. The single, and I've talked to a lot of guys, and every one of them says the same thing, that the pit in New Mexico is maybe the greatest home court advantage in college basketball. It is that good. They love their basketball. It is senior night. That place is going to be rocking, and all I have seen is New Mexico money come rolling in. But don't sleep on UNLV. They have actually put up quite the fight down the stretch here over the last couple of weeks. They're not going to roll over easily. This thing opened up 11 and a half, and we are starting to see 12 and a halves popping up in the marketplace there. So you've got a couple of pretty big games there in the Mountain West. Now, let's not forget, of course, the Big Ten. We mentioned they are in action tonight, and wow, Purdue taking on Illinois. And now this is one of those games where I just do not understand what is going on with this total. This is a total. We're talking about 2 teams here in Purdue and Illinois that, let's face it, we've got a lot of optional defensive metrics here, meaning sometimes they'll play it, sometimes they won't, sometimes it won't very much matter. But we also have a team where Illinois was kind of going through it. About a month or so ago, they had to deal with some injuries. They were losing games. They started out really well and then kind of hit a wall right around the middle portion, back end of their schedule. But they have turned it around. But Purdue, 1-3 straight up on their last 4 on the road. My goodness, it has not been good for Purdue here. I mean, Zach Edey not walking through those doors here tonight to help the Purdue Boilermakers on the road in Illinois. But if you're going to tell me these 2 teams, I mean, we're talking about a Purdue team that just dropped 100 on Rutgers. 100-71, in fact, was the score in that game. And Illinois made Michigan look ridiculous, 93-73. They dropped 81 against Iowa. They lost 110-67 to Duke prior to that, and they gave up 95 to Wisconsin. So you're starting to see a trend here with Illinois. Defense, not exactly what you're getting with Illinois, but what you will get, I have this feeling, is a whole lot of points in the paint. Why is that? Well, because when it comes to protecting the paint, Purdue has absolutely nobody to do so. And Illinois gets a majority of their points, guess where? At the rim, inside the paint, and they're going up against one of the worst defenses in the paint in the Big Ten here tonight in Purdue. Now, Purdue does have, of course, a couple of guys that can absolutely shoot the ball. And, of course, they've got a couple of All-Americans on this team, which will always give them an opportunity, just like they did last week against Rutgers, or last game against Rutgers, where they dropped 50 points in the first half and 50 points in the second half here. I don't believe they are going to have a problem putting up points. I definitely see both teams being able to get in the 80s. I'm disagreeing with the market. The market opened this game up at 160. We're seeing 158.5, 158. and I could not disagree more. I think this is an over. I think this is going to be a good old-fashioned shootout with these two teams. Illinois is going to score at will inside the paint, and Purdue has got the outside perimeter shooters to be able to make what isn't a very good perimeter defensive team in Illinois pay for a whole lot of wide open threes here tonight. So I do think Illinois wins this game. I think they're in better form at home. They'll be able to get to the rim. They'll have an edge in rebounding. I got no problem backing Illinois to win this game and lay in the 4.5. But I really like the over in this one. I'm going to go contrarian to the market and look to bet the over with Illinois and Purdue. And those are a couple of the big games going on here today, the final regular season games in some of the power conferences. But we got much more coming up with these mid-major conferences going on here tonight. A lot of teams getting ready to try and continue their journey into possibly a one-and-done, winning their conference tournament and punching their ticket to March Madness. And we got a couple of very under-the-radar games here tonight, I think, that are going to tell us a whole lot about some of these teams. For instance, Appalachian State, South Dakota State. We also have Pepperdine and Portland going at it. Don't laugh. I think there's great value in that game. I'll tell you why coming up here, where I think there's a whole lot of edges to be had on this basketball card tonight. And that's why you're here. Game Time Decisions will continue next on the Grid.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room, like you giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flag wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball. When the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri, getting ready for a loaded slate on the hardwood here tonight, both college basketball as well as the NBA. Don't forget, we got plenty of NHL action also, so now would be a good time to check in with our good friends Joe Madden and Tom Vecchio to see what's up in store tonight for a little Sports Millions Pick'em. What do you got going on tonight?
Happy Friday, everyone. It's time to finish off the week nice and strong, jumping into our Sports Millions Pick'ems. Now, Tom, both of us had a great day yesterday, being able to hit on both of our players out there for our 3-time multipliers. Let's do it again today. Where are you going to go?
Yeah, we're coming off a strong day yesterday. 2 players, Glenn and Ortiz, both went higher on their points. Let's start off today. Jalen Lake of CSU going up against Boise State. I'm going to take him higher than 2.5 rebounds. Both teams are sitting near the top of the Mountain West. Like, this is an important game as we're at this portion of the season. Boise State, solid rebounding team. They're 102 in the country in terms of rebounds per game. So want to look for a little bit more effort coming out of CSU. Jalen Lake, he has at least 2 rebounds in 8 of 10. He's been over the 2.5 in 4 of the 10. And we look at Boise State, they're 70th in Ken Pom defensive rating. So, like, this is not an easy matchup. Boise State is 50th, CSU is sitting at 60. So, like, this is going to be a tough defensive matchup late season. So that extra effort coming from rebounds should be there from Lake. Next up, let's turn to Memphis. They're taking on South Florida. PJ Haggerty, higher than 20.5 points for Memphis. He leads the team in points. He leads the team in field goal attempts, et cetera, et cetera. Florida, as we just saw yesterday with the matchups, Florida, they're 160th in Ken Pom defense, and they also play very fast at 66th in pace. So they're bad and they play fast, which just means more possessions for Haggerty. Already leads the team in points. He's at 20 or more in 6 out of 10. He's been over 20.5 in 5 out of 10. I like the spot for Memphis. I like their offense. What do you got?
Yeah, I like where you're going with those. I'm going to look at 2 different games as well. The first one I have circled is Purdue versus Illinois. Now, I'm looking at Purdue to be able to hit those threes. We know how strong they are at sinking them from deep, 3rd in the nation, while we see Illinois here really struggling against them. So Fletcher Lawyer is someone I'm going to look at here for his threes for Purdue. We can get him higher than 1.5 threes, and I think it's such a solid way to go. I was expecting this number to even be higher at 2.5, so 1.5 I feel like really is a steal. He's been able to clear 1.5 threes in 8 of his last 9 games out there, and I do think in 9 of his last 10 that he should easily be able to do it here. Look for Purdue to really stretch the floor in this one and sink them from deep, and Lawyer to be able to go higher than 1.5 threes. And then I'm going to look at New Mexico versus UNLV. Now, New Mexico won the last matchup back in January in a 75-73 high-pace game. I'm expecting New Mexico to push the pace again in this one, and I'm going to look at their top scorer out there to be able to go higher than his number. That is Donovan Dent. He's coming in with the total of 20.5 points, and I'm definitely going to take it to the higher. He's been so strong. Looking at his last 3 games, he's been straight fire out there for them, averaging 27.33 points per game. The last game versus Nevada, he had a whopping 33 points on the board, 23 versus Air Force, 26 versus San Diego. And in January, when he faced this UNLV team, he was able to put up 34 points. So look for Donovan Dent, even though UNLV is going to look to try to slow him down to be able to go higher than 20.5 points. So combining Donovan Dent and Fletcher Lawyer here, another 3-time multipliers. Tom.
We have absolutely amazing slate of college to close out the regular season. It is crunch time. We'll be back next week with, of course, more college basketball.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week, and all the best in your Sports Millions Pick'ems.
All right, we appreciate it, Joe and Tom. But don't forget, if Sports Millions Pick'em isn't your thing, don't forget about the Sports Millions Blitz'em.
Check out Sports Millions Social Casino, featuring classic slots and brand new game concepts. The Social Casino features the opportunity to win large sweepstake coins, and the games are always free to enter. Go play now at sportsmillions.com/social-casino. That's sportsmillions.com/social-casino.
Who doesn't like winning coin? All of us like winning coin there. We appreciate it, Joe. We'll talk to Joe Madden next hour, in fact. But we got plenty of NHL news, breaking news, in fact, on the trade deadline. We'll talk about it next. Game Time Decisions.
which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room, like you giving like the any given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, well, what sports books could go there? I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flag wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball. When the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome in GameTime Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you hanging with us here. Plenty going on the hardwood here tonight, as it is the month of March. After all, madness is almost upon us here. But let's not forget, pretty important day on the ice today, as the trade deadline, the final day, has come and gone here, and wouldn't you know it, my goodness, my phone was blowing up here in the South Florida area, as the enemy no more, as the defending Stanley Cup champions, my Florida Panthers here, waited till the very last second to pull off an unbelievable trade with the Boston Bruins. Brad Marchand is now a Florida Panther. Oh my goodness. Here to help us make heads or tails of this trade deadline, our good friend George Kurtz in the house. And boy, George, feels like the rich get richer here. I can't wait for Tkachuk to get healthy again. You give me Tkachuk and Marchand on the ice at the same time, just terrorizing the other. I can't wait. That's got to be must-watch television. Looks like the Panthers have once again kind of doing what they have to do to keep contending here.
Yeah, it's a great move by the Panthers here. It looks like they got a gift here. I mean, Marchand went to the Panthers in their own division, by the way, and he only went for a conditional second-round pick. It could become a first-round pick. We do not know what the condition is. My guess is if Florida wins the Cup, it becomes a first-round pick. The fact that Marchand only went for a second-round pick likely means that Marchand told Boston, I'm only going to this team or this team. That's it. You know, and they got the best of what they could. Was the fact that I said Florida and Boston, they do not like each other. They're in the same division here. So the fact they traded within a division likely means that Marchand held all the cards here, and he wants to go for a cup. You know, I said, I'm only going to this team. Maybe Tampa was the other team or someone like that. So, yes, Florida gets a great player here, an annoying little gnat, a playoff player. He's banged up too. We know Matthew Tkachuk is not going to play the rest of the regular season. He is on long-term IR, but Tkachuk, Marchand, Bennett, Barkov, Reinhardt. Remember, they picked up Seth Jones too, a week ago? This team is loaded for bear.
They know it is a marathon, not a sprint, and they are gearing up for it here once again to defend their championship. But that wasn't the only interesting move here. We saw also, I believe, Toronto trying to keep pace. Picked another defenseman from the Bruins there. Looks like Brandon Carlo is on his way to Toronto. I mean, Toronto at this point, it's never been about offense, right? It's just been about defense, and will they show up when it matters the most here, Kurtz, right?
No argument there. That's what it is, right? With Toronto. Listen, we know with Austin Matthews, who hasn't had a good year, or Nylander, Tavares, Marner, they should score goals. It's all about keeping them out of the net. All right, and Stolarz looks like he will be the number one goaltender going into the playoffs for the Leafs, even though they keep alternating between him and Woll. But Stolarz has been better than Woll. Anyone really feel great about him? You know. And by the way, you're looking at the first round. Assuming Florida wins a division, Toronto's playing Tampa first round. Oh, that'll be a joy. Yep. All right, so we'll see with Toronto. Have they done enough? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't think either one of them is going to get past Florida anyway here. But yeah, Toronto makes they made some, I guess, some additions. They got Scott Lawton as well, a depth wing there from Philadelphia. So they made some additions there. We'll see if it's enough.
Now, of course, we learned this morning, right? Dallas picks up Rantanen from the Carolina Hurricanes, who I'd gotten him from the Colorado Avalanche earlier this year. And I mean, listen, the guy has been proven to be an absolute stud. It's just, it hasn't worked. It didn't work in Carolina. It was getting stale in Colorado. Could this be, though, in Dallas, could this be the steal of the trade deadline?
I don't know if I'm going to call it a steal. It cost a lot. Stankoven, a nice little young player here, 2 first-round picks, 2 third-round picks. I mean, Carolina got a haul for him. They did. The problem is, all right, you got those picks, but you gave up now Netchus and Drury to get Rantanen in the first place here. Overall, you netted more than you gave up, but weren't you trying to compete this year? And now you're done. All right, you don't have Netchus, you don't have Drury. Those picks, by the way, you're not going to see that until 28, 29. I don't even know that the current GM will be there in 28, 29. So Carolina sort of, I guess they did the best they could. I think we were all waiting because this trade was sort of we knew it was going to happen about 11 o'clock this morning. It really wasn't officially announced until maybe 1:32. We were wondering if maybe some of those picks were going to be traded again to get a top player, maybe a Brad Marchand, or someone like that to get in there so they can compete this year. But no, Carolina, they currently sit second place in the Metro. Don't know if they'll remain there. That whole Metro division's a mess. Right, the Devils lost Jack Hughes. They really didn't replace him. The Rangers can't tell if they're competing or if they're trading out. Everybody else is terrible here. And maybe Washington will bust in that division as far as going on here. As for Dallas, you look at this Dallas team, Joe. My God. They can roll 4. Forget 3 lines. They can roll 4 lines at you. Let's not forget Tyler Seguin is still on the IL. He'll be back at some point, either in late March or before the playoffs there. But they have young players coming at you wave after wave after wave. They'll get Heiskanen back as well. Well, we hope he'll get Heiskanen back before the playoffs. He was put on long-term IR today. Great move by them. I think everyone's saying, he wanted to go there as far as Rantanen and sign a long-term deal because no state taxes. And while I believe that's true, there's also a lot of Finns on this team. I think he felt very comfortable being here as well. Here's the funny thing, by the way. Colorado currently sits in the first wild card spot. They're 2 points out of third place in the Central Division. I think they'll catch Minnesota for that third place, by the way. And guess who they're going to play first round? Dallas. Dallas, Colorado, first round. And by the way, and the NHL's insane playoff system also means that either Dallas or Colorado is going bye-bye after the first round. Silly. These are 2 great teams here. But odds are Rantanen's going to face his former team in the first round of the playoffs.
Oh, it's going to get good here in the NHL. Pretty good slate here tonight as well. Talk to me about this Red Wings team that just can't remember how to win a game. They got swept by Columbus there. I mean, it's not been good. They take on Washington tonight. I mean, that's a big number here. What are we thinking?
Yeah, Detroit's lost 4 straight, right? They're not playing good hockey right now here. Didn't really make any significant additions or subtractions at the deadline today here. I mean, minus 235 is what I currently have at the Capitals here. You want to hit the goal line? Yeah, maybe minus puck and a half there, plus 104, probably a better bet to make there. Listen, you can always do a parlay. All right, Washington, there are games we can parlay tonight, especially later on. Maybe our Vegas Golden Knights over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Might not be a parlay. How about Ovechkin scoring a goal? Anyone think he's not scoring tonight? He scores every night. He's going to set the record this year with the all-time goal-scoring record there. Listen, I like the Capitals, but I'm not laying a 235. It'll either be a parlay or you're playing the goal line. But I am going to play now. It's Ovechkin anytime goal.
The single most profitable team on the puck line this year, George Kurtz, and we've talked about it, is the Anaheim Ducks. They're taking on the St. Louis Blues here tonight. Boy, this feels like maybe Anaheim or Binnington in goal. What do we do here?
You know, two more teams didn't make any significant.
Oh, hey, well, George did a quick change there. But, yes, two teams also that made absolutely no moves at the deadline. But St. Louis doing exactly what they did during their Stanley Cup run, what feels like forever ago, but they're getting quality goaltending. They came out of that break playing their best hockey. They have been very, very good here. But again, you look at the numbers, Anaheim remains the most profitable team on the puck line. This is a team that the market just has not adjusted enough for, and they keep covering numbers, especially on the puck line, and even winning games outright. I think that's a fascinating matchup. We'll talk more NHL next hour, but we've got college basketball to break down. We'll do it next on The Grid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, well, what sports books could go there? I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flag wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball. When the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports.
All right, here's where the show gets to be a whole lot of fun. It's Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Very happy Friday. And it's Friday, March the 7th. It is madness, people, and nobody is a few fries short of a Happy Meal like my friend Colby Gant here in the house, ready to go, because this man understands madness. He understands college basketball. And listen, on a Friday, we're not used to, Colby, 31 games on the slate here. We had a little early afternoon action in the Mo Valley. We got a couple of games underway right now, I believe, as Georgia State on top of Marshall and Western Carolina and Mercer going back and forth here. Hofstra just blew out North Carolina A&T, and I don't think that was a shock there. But we got some good ones coming up here tonight, my friend, namely the Big Ten with Illinois taking on Purdue. Now, maybe you can help me here, Colby. I'm watching this total continue to be bet under. I mean, from 160 to 158, 158 and a half. What am I missing here, Colby?
Yeah, and the line went back up now. So yesterday it opened at 4.5. It jumped down. I was on a show earlier today. It was at 3.5. Now it's back to 4.5. Quite fascinating there. I thought it would go potentially the other direction based off stuff, but I as far as the total, it depends which Illinois team you get, because when they're hitting the three, they are really good. And the problem is that they're a bottom 30 team in 3-point field goal percentage for the whole year. But the past 2 games, they've won by 20 each, but because they hit those threes. I tend to like Purdue. I think that's my favorite play on the game would be Purdue, just because Illinois has struggled against the slow-paced teams they've played. I mean, they've beaten some slow-paced teams, but any team with a pulse that can play slow, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Michigan State to a certain extent, they've struggled with. I think Purdue, can do exactly that. I like the way Purdue defends the three. The fact that Illinois has won these, they've been all over the place this year. It wasn't that long ago Maryland beat them by 20 at home. So to me, they've lacked consistency, which is normal in a young team. So I'm going to ride the Boilermakers here. Painter, I get it. He had that 4-game losing streak about a week ago, but they've come out of it well. And I like the Boilermakers. I think they're a more dangerous team in March too, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, they're always dangerous. They kind of hit a wall, but Illinois hit a wall earlier on this season too as well. Illinois is going to get whatever they want in the paint. There's not, Zach Edey ain't walking through that door, and we all know that Purdue can hit the three, and they have more than enough shooting to be able to continue to keep pace, if not lead this game. So, give me I want points, and more points in that game coming up. I am fascinated with the Mountain West games here tonight. Let's talk about the Pit, the last game of the night here. I was trying to explain earlier, Colby, I don't think people realize how good a home court that is at the Pit, man. It is sold out. It is senior night. It is one of the toughest places to play. UNLV has been feisty down the stretch here, and this number keeps getting bet up, but New Mexico at home, tough to bet against, no?
Yeah, I think the thing you're looking for here, though, that like the Pit is to me, it's college basketball 101. If you love college hoops, you want to catch one of the better stadiums to catch a great game. That's one of them. But New Mexico's already clinched. Yeah. They've already clinched the Mountain West. So to me, UNLV in the much more desperate spot. Kruger coaching for his job. There's rumors he might be on the way out. And they are hot right now. And to me, it's just a little bit too big of a number. I'll take the Rebels and the points there with New Mexico not having a lot of motivation to win this game. And then you add in the other side of that is ATS, New Mexico, even though that the Pit is lit, they haven't been great ATS at home.
Yep. They've always been overvalued. That's the problem there. Also, quietly, we got a red-hot Colorado State team, and this is all for seeding, too, taking on Boise State here tonight. 5.5 is the number. Boise State obviously should be the favorite, but can we sleep on Colorado State here?
I mean, Nico Medved doing an unbelievable coaching job. I remember watching this team in November and thinking this team was terrible. I thought there was a chance they could finish in the bottom 2 or 3. Man, and you look at them now with Nick Clifford coming along. They've won 6 or 7 in a row. But Boise, so here's what's intriguing is Colorado State's still got to do a lot of work to get into the mix. Boise, whether it's Palm, whether it's, what just use, a lot of them have them in, but the last team in, the second to last team in. So they're in a desperate spot. Boise is 13-1 at home this year. San Diego State was the only team able to get them. It's a veteran team. They were the preseason favorites. I was at Mountain West Media Day when they were voted to win that conference, and a lot of it had to do with how many upperclassmen are on that team. That's why I've penciled in Boise. Remember, Colorado State got them in a buzzer beater pretty much in Fort Collins on January 22nd. I think revenge is on the mind here for Boise. I love laying this number now. Obviously, I think it's still at 5.5. If it is up at 6.5, I wouldn't go too much further because Leon Rice and Boise aren't known to just blow teams out there. But I still think Boise's the play here, and I like it pretty well.
Yeah, listen, 6-game winning streak for Colorado State, 5-game for Boise State. They're jockeying for position here. It's a big game in the Mountain West there tonight. Looking forward to that one. Also, in what world should Memphis be a 13.5-point favorite? You want to talk about a game that means nothing to them. They've already locked it up. Give me the points in South Florida here. No, Colby?
Especially because they're still jockeying for position. Now, they're not very good this year. They had a tragedy right before the season started. But give me the points all day on these Bulls. Let's go.
Yeah. I'm with you. Give me the 13.5 there. All right, we've got plenty to be excited about tomorrow in college hoops. So we're going to run down some of these bigger games with Colby. Plus, we'll take a look at some of these mid-major conferences and maybe a little Pepperdine Portland will squeeze in there as Game Time Decisions continues here on the grid.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room, like you giving like the Any Given Sunday Inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flag wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball. When the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network as we're ready for madness here. March, college basketball, they go hand to hand. Colby Dant back in the saddle again with us here as we look to close out this hour. All right, let's talk about one game here tonight. We'll talk about one tomorrow. But Portland and Pepperdine, baby, the West Coast Conference. Let's go tonight. This is another one where scratch the head on the line. Listen, Portland has played much better as of late, right? They had a terrible start to the season here. Pepperdine's going through all sorts of changes. Feels like an easy over, but it's a pick 'em now. And which side of the fence are you laying on in this one?
I mean, how are they coming up with this number? So let me get this straight. Portland Pepperdine played in Portland a couple months back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Portland won by 20. Now, about a week or two ago, they played in Pepperdine's located in Malibu, California. Portland won by 20. So 2 games, 40 points combined. And the line's at a pick? What's happening here? I give me Pepperdine all day here because I don't understand how they got this number. They got a couple guys that can create shots. Mo Odom is one of them. And I'm all over the waves because it does not make sense to me how they got this number. I mean, this thing should be, I mean, honestly, like this should be like a 12-point spread. You know, I don't understand how it's like this. Pepperdine's lost 5 in a row. You can add on to this thing. It makes no sense. So I'm all over Pepperdine here. They do have some scoring options. I wonder maybe, the neutrality of the court could be an issue, even though they lost at home. But, sign me up. I'm betting this, and the main reason is the number.
I listen, I'm with you. I just want points. Both these teams can't stop a nosebleed, so go ahead and just keep scoring all night long here. All right, tomorrow, big action, final regular season game. Does it get any better than Alabama, who you and I talked about? Give me Florida all day long. I don't care where they're playing. They're going to be playing for a national championship. Bama loses that one. Auburn coming off a loss. Doesn't really mean a whole lot to Auburn. They already locked in on 1, right? But 8.5? Oh.
And it doesn't mean a whole lot with the exception of in that state. Because let me tell you, Auburn football has been terrible lately. So you got to get your wins where you can get them. I just am not a big believer in Alabama this year. Or, I mean, to be honest, last year too. I mean, they made me look like a fool with that Final Four run. But I think a lot of that had to do with the bracket they were in. They're 194th in defensive rating. They shoot a bunch of low-quality shots, but they play at this incredibly fast pace, the Paul Westhead stuff, back to the days of Hank Gathers and Bo Kimball. And that thing, I just question it against great teams. You're going to the jungle. I know Auburn's playing for now. They already won the regular season. They got the 1 seed. They're already going to be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Even if they lost this game, they'd be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. But this thing matters in state. I'm laying the number. The jungle is a legit home environment. Give me the Tigers to take down the Tide.
Yeah, tomorrow's a very tricky day, and maybe none trickier than Duke is going scorched earth. People taking on North Carolina. I don't see them taking their foot off the gas. Do you?
Oh man, see, I got burnt. See, I traditionally over the past 25 years of my life, you love taking the dog in these games. Yeah, but man, I ate crow on the first one, but you got to think at least Carolina covers this. They need this win to make the NCAA tournament. Duke's in no matter what, as a 1 seed, but obviously this game, historic rivalry. Duke looks so much better. Carolina's beaten nobody good this year. You got to go back to December when they beat UCLA for their only win with the pulse on it. I'm taking the points. I don't think Carolina's winning the game. But I just think there's a little bit too much pride there. You can't get blown out. You can't get worked by more than 20 in both these games. Give me the points. Duke wins by 5 or 6.
Yeah, I mean, listen, congratulations, North Carolina. You beat Vatech, Miami, Florida State, Virginia, North Carolina State. All right, this is a different animal. And they are. It feels like a lot of points for a rivalry game, but it also feels like this one could be over in the first half, because that's just how scorched earth Duke is going. All right, Colby, we are here, man. Madness is upon us, my friend. Great games here tonight. We always appreciate you stopping by, sharing the wisdom. Of course, we'll talk to you over the weekend here as more college basketball coming your way as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room, like you giving like the any given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flag wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball. When the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning. This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the Sports Grid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Welcome in to Madness. It is March the 7th. Plenty going on. The hardwood college basketball. It's all about March Madness, and it'll be here before we know it. We're also finishing up the regular season in the NBA, as a lot of teams are pushing to make the postseason. Great game coming up here between the Miami Heat and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Also, Portland getting ready to take on the backups of Oklahoma City, because apparently nobody is playing from OKC. They're actually holding tryouts tonight, and they're going to let guys come in from outside the stadium. Here's the Jersey play, which is why they're only a 3-point favorite here. But we all know the NFL never sleeps. So the NFL, whenever we get breaking news at 7 o'clock Eastern time on a Friday during March Madness, you know it's got to be good. And this is something. Our man, former New York Jet, former Seattle Seahawk, former West Virginia Mountaineer. How about Geno Smith? Traded from Seattle to the one and only Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. Why? Well, apparently Pete Carroll wanted his old quarterback there. Well, he's got him. I don't know what that means for Seattle. I'm not quite sure, but I think that tells you. I do believe he had a new contract pending or was going to have to get a new contract. So Seattle looks like they just cut ties with him to get rid of him. Let's bring in our good friend Adam Kaufman here. I mean, listen, if you can get anything for him at this point, Adam, he wasn't your future. And as long as, you made that decision, and that's okay, because the organization, Seattle, at least has a direction and they know what they don't want. And what they didn't want to have to do was pay Geno Smith again. So now he is, once again, Pete Carroll's problem with the Raiders. Interesting move, to say the least.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was just looking up, some more of the specifics. Goes for a 3rd round pick. You would ask, as we were coming on the air, does Seattle even have a backup option? Not really. The in-house option right now is Sam Howell. That's who you're looking at, of course, the former Commander. So, look, this opens the door to one of a few different things. As we know, Raiders, who were picking, or I guess are picking 6th, it was, all right, they need a quarterback. Could they trade up, potentially with the Patriots, go after Shedeur Sanders if he's still on the board? All that speculation, all those mock drafts, all those perceived trades out the window, because this one obviously has happened. Geno Smith, as you said, reunited with Pete Carroll. And who knows? I mean, do they deal for DK Metcalf too? He's requested a trade. He's on the outs. Tyler Lockett was just released. This is a full rebuild situation that's on the way here with Seattle. Maybe. The reason I say maybe is because do we see them go get a quarterback in the draft, which is inevitable, but I mean, do they do it up high? Do they try and take someone in the first round, or do they, kind of like a la Houston with Davis Mills, just sort of take someone when someone's available, when that happened a couple years back? Or there's the, nuclear option. Do you go out and overpay someone like Sam Darnold, who we know is not going to be back in Minnesota? And then there's that in-between option where Russ is going to be looking for a home. Could Russell Wilson, bookend the career with, go back to Seattle here and have that Hollywood story closed? Because obviously he's running out of time. I mean, this could be his last year or two in the league. Aaron Rodgers, I guess, would be an option if they were desperate. I can't imagine he would want to go there, but considering he already made a call on his own behalf to the Giants asking if they were interested in his services, clearly desperation has already set in for him. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the Seahawks do here. I think Russ would be a fun story, though, because he's not going to be back in Pitt.
Yeah, as you were talking, that story got progressively worse, Adam. As you brought me down the Russ and Rian, that's just gross on so many levels. All right, so NFL, Geno Smith making headlines on a Friday, but we got some quality games in the association here tonight. And I do think this Miami game against Minnesota. Listen, Miami is not rolling over for anybody. They were shorthanded the other night, still. Almost managed to pull off the upset there against the Cavs. They welcome in Minnesota, who I do believe will have Conley back here tonight. Still no Rudy Gobert there. Miami looks like they'll get Tyler Hero back. And I think Wiggins, shocker, unavailable to play tonight. He hasn't been available in 3 years. So Miami or Golden State, it doesn't make a difference. But this was as high as 5.5. It's come down to around 4 here. Miami at this price is still very much a live dog, are they not?
Yeah, I would think so. I was just, looking to see what's out there in the injury report. It looks like just Rudy Gobert out for Minnesota. And then on the Miami side, like you said, we just got, as you were talking, got the notification that Tyler Hero is in fact going to play in this one. And so, yeah, I would look to his props or Bam Adebayo, overs, because obviously, like you said, no Andrew Wiggins. He's missed a couple in a row at this point in time. I don't know. When it comes to sides here tonight, there are some interesting spots to me. This isn't one of them. I just feel like, Miami is a team that anytime I have faith, there's the disappointment. Minnesota, I generally expect big things out of Edwards, but, second to him, it's hard to know where that's going to come from. There's the Julius Randle element now, so they're sort of feeling out everything as, back to what it was in the first part of the year when they were kind of that two-man show, but woeful inconsistency on the part of Randle, at least offensively. He'd get you some rebounds, that type of thing, but it was one of those like, all right, is this a clog the lane night for Randle where he's just sort of in the way, or his first game back the other day where he went crazy, is he going to produce? And so I would be inclined to back Minnesota in this spot, just because I do think top to bottom there's more talent, but I don't have a real strong feel on either side.
It's interesting too here. We've got the Cavs are laying 100 points one way or the other again. Yeah. I mean, it's almost laughable at this point. But this Grizzlies-Mavericks game, I think, is interesting, too, because Memphis has kind of been going through it, Adam, and they need a win would be great. And it looks like, as far as health goes, they're healthier than what we're going to get from Dallas, but it is a double-digit Grizzlies laying it on the road.
Look, I mean, us two and all the guys in back could form a starting five, and it would be healthier than what they've got going on in Dallas right now. It's a terrible situation. I don't. It's crazy to me. Look, latest number. Let me just pull it up real quick. We're looking at Minnesota minus 10.5, almost across the board. Looks like there might, unless the number's wrong, might be a rogue 9.5 out there on DraftKings. This number should be double. It should be the Cleveland spread. I can't fathom Minnesota even being a road team not winning this game by 15 to 20 points or more. Dallas has nothing to work with, and maybe that we'll change our tune a little bit when Anthony Davis does make his way back. But Memphis, right. I know this is a team that it's like the hospital Grizzlies on a night-to-night basis. At least one guy is always out tonight, and for the next little bit, there's no Jaren Jackson Jr., but everyone else is out there. And so, whether you want to back Morant or Bane or, you name it, Edey, I think Zach Edey is in a great spot. Look for him to have a double-double tonight.
Well, Purdue could use him, but I don't think that's going to happen either, Adam. Game Time Decisions continues here on the grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network as we've got a loaded slate of games here tonight. Plenty in the NBA, plenty in college basketball, a lot of mid-major tournaments underway, the final regular season games for some of these Power 5 conferences. We got a couple of good ones coming up here tonight with Purdue and Illinois, Boise State, Colorado State. And then, of course, the New York Knicks. Will they ever win a game against a quality team? But, oh, wait a minute. There's good news. Scotty Wetzel stepping in, and he'll take over at the top of the hour for In-Game Live. But, Scotty, the good news is we know the New York Knicks, they can't be good teams. The Clippers are not a good team, Scotty, so they should be able to win this game tonight, no?
You would think, right? But, and I absolutely love, Joe, going on teams, rather, that lose their star players for at least the first game, maybe even two. I really do, but I just can't do it tonight. Brunson means so much to this team. They blew the double-digit lead. They got to be depressed. They don't have to go far, obviously, here in L.A. playing the Clippers. But I don't see it happening without Brunson. I really don't. Karl Anthony Towns going to step up. Bridges, one of these guys going to really step up and fill the gap? I don't think so. Clippers, as bad as they've been, they are still very good at home. 20-6 straight up, last 26 at home. More importantly, for our purposes, 18-5 against the spread their last 23 home games. And they're coming off a win against Detroit, in which they're actually home dogs. So I'm going with the Clippers. It's a decent-sized number. It's down to 6.5 in some circles, but I think the Clippers get it done. I think the Knicks are in big trouble without Brunson.
Well, yeah, at least 2 weeks now, the report coming out that the Knicks will have to survive without him. But again, survive against the bad teams should not be a problem, because that's the only teams they can actually beat this year. I'm wondering, too, when I saw this line last night, I saw 14.5 and 15 with Oklahoma City welcoming in Portland. Then I woke up today and I saw it at 3, and I was like, are they bringing in the G League team? Like, what? No. Well, as it turns out, there's nobody playing for Oklahoma City here tonight of any value whatsoever. So this thing went from 15-3, Scott. And Portland, by the way, quietly battling for that 10th seed and a spot in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they've been playing terrific basketball. They really have. I mean, and when you say nobody, Joe, it is nobody. I mean, there's 2 guys out of the starting lineup that aren't playing. Then there's a couple of more on the bench that get regular minutes that aren't playing tonight for OKC, right? Yeah, and the weirdest thing about it is Gilchrist Alexander. He's the one that's not hurt. So he's the one that's legitimately just not playing because of rest. Keep in mind, we've been down this road before, I know, but the kid's 26 years old, and they didn't play yesterday. Yet somehow or another, when the whole team is out, they're going to decide to rest him tonight. So what does that mean for our betting purposes? I can't, realistically go with the 2. I can't do that. I can't bet Portland, even though I think they're going to win. But again, we've seen so many times where these teams rise up. We're going to go over, Joe, long story short. We've seen the subs come in time after time after time and be able to score points. They can't play any defense. Over 228, 229, depending on what number you get, is the play for me.
So the Nuggets taking on the Phoenix Suns at home here tonight. A lot of question marks as far as whether the Joker is going to go here tonight. We know Phoenix has struggled, although, that come from behind win against the Clippers the other night. Maybe that they can carry on with that, especially if there's no Joker here tonight. 7.5, Scotty, what are you thinking?
Yeah, that's it, Joe. You and I talked a couple days ago when it was the Clippers versus Detroit, right? And all the trends said Detroit. And we said, a little hunch play on the Clippers, and the Clippers end up winning outright. Same thing here. And you said it exactly. All the trends point to Denver. That they really do. They're playing great. 11-2, last 13 at home. But I'm just thinking that last win by Phoenix, when KD before the game read him the riot act and said it was embarrassing and this, that, maybe, just maybe, that's turned things around. They're 4 back for the final play-in spot. They need the tough schedule, but they need to win some of these tough games that they're not supposed to win. Maybe it happens tonight. I think it does. I'm going to play a little hunch, and you're getting a pretty decent number, 7.5.
Yeah, no, not a bad number at all in this one here. And what are we doing here? A little De'Aaron Fox prop? Is that what I'm seeing here tonight?
Yeah, it's funny. I do a lot of these plays in the morning, right, when I'm just getting up and this and that, and I'm like, all right, the epiphany, right? De'Aaron Fox, he's playing, if he's down with San Antonio, he's playing Sacramento for the first time since the trade a month ago. Boy, no one's going to notice this. Let's get in on this, right? So, little opposite pick, little secrecy, right? Meanwhile, now the stories all over the place all day about how he's going back to Sacramento for the first time. But I still like it, Joe. I'm going to play his points at 22.5, maybe 23.5. His assists right around 6. I'm even going to play his over rebounds. I mean, they basically kicked him out of town. They blamed him for all everything else that went on over there. They fired the head coach. I got a feeling he's got a monster chip on his shoulder. I'm going to play all of his overs, especially the points.
Oh, all right, listen, go for it. How about that Purdue-Illinois game? I don't get the movement to the under. It's a dead over as far as I'm concerned, Scotty.
Exactly, right? I mean, Illinois is top 10 in scoring, and they're at home, and they really need to win this game. And Purdue can go up and down the court with the best of them. So I don't get the lowered it to 158.5 either. I liked it at 159.5 this morning. I think that's an automatic overplay. Friday night, place should be packed. Kids will be all there, the school kids. I don't think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I like the over.
Yeah, I'm with you. I do not see that being low-scoring at all. I also don't trust Memphis to lay 14 points, 13 points either against South Florida. They've got nothing to play for here tonight, Scotty. How do you look at this one?
I'm going to go over, Joe, 82.5 points Memphis team total. They've hit this number 6 of their last 9. They're at home, senior day. You're right, playing for nothing. Just a little giddiness up and down the court. I think they get to 83 against a bad team they're playing.
Yeah, I like that, Scott. I like the over in the game, too, as well. They should be able to contribute enough, South Florida, to get that thing flying over it there. All right, my man, we're going to see you here shortly, top of the hour, for a little in-game live. You're not going to want to miss it. In the meantime, we'll talk a little Arnold Palmer Classic when we get back here on Game Time Decisions.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like, you giving like the Any Given Sunday Inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flag wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball, when the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested, and it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on this SportsGrid network. Truth be told, I liked our segment with Scotty Wetzel so much I invited him back. So we're going to push Brady Cannon back to the bottom of this hour here so we can finish up this card tonight in college hoops there, Scotty. In-game live coming up top of the hour. We'll pass off the baton. I love these Mountain West games tonight. I like the one out in the pit with New Mexico, but I really like the Boise State, Colorado State here. Colorado State, 6 in a row they've rattled off. Boise State, 5 in a row. Teams battling for position in the conference tournament. What gives in this one tonight?
Yeah, I wish this line was a little bit lower than 6.5, but I'll take it just the same. We got the best of both worlds for both here. Boise State's covered 7 straight at home, 7-0 against the spread. Colorado State's covered 6-0 heading into this game, but 1-8 against the spread as road dogs, as clearly they are now. So because of that, I'll push it towards Boise State. They don't lose at home. They're nearly, unbeatable at home, and now they've been covering the number. Again, I wish it was 4.5, 5.5. Maybe put Boise State in and keep a little bit on the side, Joe, and then hopefully Colorado State scores like the first 4 points, and you get that number a little bit closer to 4 than it is 6.5. But I think ultimately Boise State wins the game, and I think they cover the number.
Yeah, I like that one there. And how about a little conference tournament with the mid-majors? You're going to go to the SoCon conference there, I believe, and you're going to give me the Citadel versus VMI, Virginia Military here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to the SoCon because the Citadel is so bad. They're 0-16,
you're right.
Joe. They're winless in conference play. Excuse me, 0-18. I didn't want to shortchange them. My bad. 0-18. Now, VMI's not great, but they're 7-11 in conference play. That's a heck of a lot better than 0-18, right? I'm thinking they should get the win. Neutral court, you're laying 6.5 or so, 5.5, 6.5. I mean, it's sitting at 5-24 overall. They've beaten one Division I team, in nearly 30 games this year. So give me VMI. They beat them by double digits the one time they faced them this season. I'll lay the 6.5 and keep my fingers crossed they win by at least 7 points.
I love that there, Scotty. I think we got some great ones here tonight. Also, I don't know, did you get a word that Geno Smith has been traded from Seattle to his old coach there, Pete Carroll? I mean, how bad are things for the Raiders where Carroll's like, you got to go get me Geno Smith. And Seattle's like, oh, no problem. You can have him. Just send us like, a Twix bar and a third rounder and we're good to go. So Geno on his way to the Raiders, Scotty. What do you think?
Yeah, and no matter what you think about Geno, to me, the bottom line is that the Seattle Seahawks gave away their starting quarterback for not a first rounder or even maybe a second rounder, a third round pick. I mean, he may not be worth more than that. I get that, but the bottom line is he's your starting quarterback. Unless they love Sam Howell so much that they're going to use him. The former Washington Commander, he was the backup. But I think it's really just a point of one team saying they're tired of living in purgatory, and another team, the Raiders, saying, "Boy, we'll take purgatory," because purgatory at least makes us 500. Whereas Seattle just says, "We've been there, done that." You said in the break, he's entering the last year of his contract. He's not making that much money. He's not, but you just assume bottom out, right? They got little Lockett. Metcalf once out. Maybe this is the year Seattle just says, we go 3-14, we bottom out, we get a top 5 pick, and then we go get a quarterback next year.
Yeah, I listen. It's good news if you like Seattle because at least they've made a decision. They're not going to go back and forth. They don't want a lame duck quarterback complaining all year about a contract they're never going to give them. So, cut bait while you can and move on. But my goodness, Pete Carroll, are you calling Pittsburgh and asking if Russ is available too? Like, what is going on here with the NFL making all sorts of noise here tonight? I am looking very forward to it, though, Scotty. You got, of course, in-game live coming up here tonight. Anything on the ice that you liked here tonight?
I tell you, I really love Vegas. I'll lay the minus 145 to win a regulation against Pittsburgh Penguins. Penguins are dead, just awful. They're dead. Last place. I can't believe I'm saying last place with Pittsburgh Penguins. Vegas red hot, 6-1 their last 7. I'll lay the minus 145 to win a regulation, Joe.
I love it, Scott. I like that play, too, as well. We always appreciate it. We'll see you top of the hour for In-Game Live. Next, Brady Cannon stops by. Let's talk some golf.
which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like, you giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flag wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball, when the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested, and it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on this Friday on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by while we talked a little college and NBA action. Let's not forget, tick-tock, a couple of weeks away from our very first major on the PGA Tour coming up, of course, in Augusta, but none better than Bay Hill, the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and the list of golfers and the names here is the who's who of the golf world and the PGA Tour, which is why we have the who's who when it comes to breaking down the PGA. Brady Cannon in the house stopping by so we can get updated with what we have seen here. And what we have seen is some of the same characters playing very similar roles here. We saw Wyndham Clark come out like a bat out of hell and on Thursday, Brady, only to be as mediocre as he usually is today. And voila, there, 67, 71. You never know what you're going to get from Wyndham Clark, which is totally head-scratching. But it's good to see Colin Morikawa. It's also, even though he cost me money last week, Russell Henley got the flat stick working again. But it's our boy Shane Lowry out in front, 69-67. That is your 36-hole leader right now, and we were just talking. Chances of Shane Lowry being able to go all 4 rounds and win this thing?
Yeah, I don't love the thought of it, you know, and I'm kicking myself a little bit because I was on him last week. He cashed a nice top 20 finish for me. I think he ended up finishing 11th. But now you've got a completely upgraded field. And I didn't want to go back to the well with Lowry, and now here he is sitting on top of the leaderboard. But I just don't know if it's going to last. We haven't seen this guy win in a long, long time. Now, I know he's a great wind player. He's great on the Florida swing. He plays tough golf courses very well. Right now, he is number 1 in this field. He is striping the irons. He's number 1 in this field for stroke gained approach. But, you know, and you talked about it off air as well. The putter is red hot. He is 6th in this field for putting, but Shane Lowry has been off to an awful start in 2025 with the putter. So you wonder if all of a sudden this putter being red hot, is that going to continue? And also he's running into trouble off the tee. He's 40th in this field. Remember, there's only 50 or 60 players left in this field. He's 40th for strokes gained off the tee. If he continues to find the rough and get a little errant off the tee, boy, that iron play is not going to matter when he's giving himself tough positions like this. So I'm kind of glad. I mean, it'd be nice to have a ticket on him, but I just don't know if he's going to get there this week. I kind of like the guys that are trying to catch him right now. I think Wyndham Clark is fine. He's 10th in this field on approach. He's 8th in putting. He's number 1 in greens and regulation. He's 26th off the tee. If he can clean that up a little bit, I think this guy can be – he finished runner-up last year, right? And I know Lowry finished third, but I wouldn't be surprised if Lowry finished third again. Clark may be able to take one step better and win it this year. But you mentioned Morikawa. I think Morikawa and Justin Thomas are hitting the ball better than anybody else in this field right now. They are absolutely striping it. They're rarely missing a fairway. They're both number 1 in strokes gained, or I take that back. Thomas is number 1 in strokes gained off the tee. Morikawa is number 5. They're both number 3 in driving accuracy. Morikawa is 8th on approach. Thomas is 7th. Greens and regulation, Thomas is 5th. Both of them can't make a putt to save their life. Morikawa is 31st in putting, and Thomas is 42nd. They are absolutely just annihilating the golf ball straight down the middle of the fairway, but they can't hole a putt. And if that just turns a little bit for either one of those guys, boy, I wouldn't. I have a ticket pre-tournament on Thomas. I may add one here over the weekend on Morikawa.
Interesting enough, too, a lot of very big names, familiar names, not going to see the weekend. Victor Hovland still can't figure it out there. Like, he should get himself another swing coach. That'll help. Sahith Theegala, Minwoo Lee, who we thought was going to be actually pretty good in this spot. Max Homa has no idea what he's doing. Tom Kim, Maverick McNeil. So there are it was good to see Xander back out there, too. Obviously, he looks rusty, like a guy that hasn't played in a couple months. But, this is a golf course that you better be able to hit the irons. You better have a clue as to where it's going, because those guys, none of them did, unfortunately, on Thursday and Friday.
I think it's great, Joe. It really feels like, I believe, the first tournament that we've seen this year where this is really busting some chops of these players out here.
Yes.
I mean, guys are shooting 80. This is big boy golf at its finest. I mean, Cam Davis, who got out to a great start, and then he comes back, and what he shoot today, 80. And he's, slamming the trunk and packing the bags for the weekend. Davis Thompson, Akshay Bhatia. How'd you like playing Bay Hill for the first time, Akshay?
Yeah.
He's going home early, 79, 73. I mean, there's some big names. Billy Horschel's played here 1,000 times. He's going home early. Maverick McNeely was a guy that I was on pre-tournament, and I loved his opening round. He was doing great, and then all of a sudden he just did a 180 and shot an 80 today as well. So, as much, I've got half my guys left. Pre-tournament, I was on Fitzpatrick and Thomas. They're going to be around for the weekend, and McNeely and Minwoo Lee. I've only got 2 guys left. I've got top 20 finishes in play for both of them, and I think Thomas is possibly still live to win it. He's at 3 under, 5 shots off the lead. That's probably about my stopping point right there, Joe. I don't know if I like anybody that's further than 5 back heading into the weekend. The weather tomorrow, you could see some scoring. I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Rory McIlroy just lights it up on Saturday. Not a lot of wind in the forecast. I think these guys are going to be able to get the golf course. But then on Sunday, by the time the leaders tee off, we're supposed to see some wind again. So and Shane Lowry, one of the best wind players in the world, he's got that going for him.
Great to see Jason Day, by the way, former champion here at this course. It's always been a matter of whether or not how healthy is that back with him. But, man, 64, one of the lowest rounds that we've seen at Bay Hill in a very, very long time. And we know him, as he got older, a little streakier. He's a guy very much can put a couple of rounds together. Next thing you know, Jason Day's in the final group on a Sunday.
Yeah, I hate to back a guy off of a round when he went so low because I could see him shooting even par or 2 over tomorrow. I hope he doesn't. I'm a big fan of Jay Day. I've already bet him for the PGA Championship, Joe. And maybe that, I love this form. I love that he's got this game still in him, and this is showing up here and there. I hope it continues. I bet him for the PGA Championship, which is being held this year at Quail Hollow, where he has won twice before. So I like that the game's looking good. I hope it's peaking come May for Jason Day.
Yeah, so do I here. And, of course, Scotty Scheffler sitting right around 10-1. Are we thinking he's got a shot?
Well, it's like Rory and Scotty. We're never getting a bargain on those two guys, right? I mean, you're really paying a premium for a guy. What's he, 1 over par, I believe, right now?
Yeah.
Nine shots back. He's Scotty Scheffler. We've seen him do it before. We saw him do it with 6 holes left to play at the Olympics, for God's sakes. But no, I don't want to back him at 10-1. I think this golf course is too hard. I think Saturday's going to be an opportunity for some guys to pad their lead and possibly go low. No, if I'm going to back anybody right now, it'd be Justin Thomas, Wyndham Clark, and Colin Morikawa. I think those guys have a real solid shot.
1 under is Scotty Scheffler, along with Aberg. And mark my words right now, come Sunday, in the final couple of groups, Justin Rose will be there. As sure as I'm sitting here, Justin Rose will show up somewhere. He's like a bad rash, man. We can't get rid of him, Brady. Every time we turn around, the old guy, he's always right there.
Pre-tournament. He was around 150-1 or something to win this thing. I hope he gets it.
Real. Me too. Brady, we appreciate it as always, man. Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like, you giving like the Any Given Sunday Inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flag wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball, when the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested, and it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on this Friday on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you hanging with us here as we've got plenty going on in the hardwood It is called March Madness for a reason here. College hoops here tonight. Couple of big games getting ready to tip off, including Purdue trying to right this ship before the Big Ten tournament, traveling to take on Illinois. Huge game coming up here tonight. But let's not forget, you got plenty going on the ice here tonight. And what a day, in fact, it was, the final day of the trade deadline. And here to make heads or tails of it is our good friend Joe Madden, who, Joe, my phone was blowing up here in South Florida earlier today. I had to read it like 12 times because I thought I was being punked. I'm like, wait a minute. What do you mean the Panthers just got Brad Marchand? Wait, what? What is going on here? But once again, they're the champs, and they are reloading, and they understand what it takes. Kachuk is on the sideline until the playoffs begin. Boy, what a luxury to have Marchand. You just slot him right in there now.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the Florida Panthers, still the favorite sitting here to take the Stanley Cup, to be able to repeat. And I think with Brad Marchand put into this lineup, they have every ability to. Now, we did see that big move for the Dallas Stars as well, Joe. The Dallas Stars getting Mikko Rantanen, making them the second favorite to take the Stanley Cup at plus 600, with the Carolina Hurricanes allowing him to go, and the Dallas Stars wrapping him up into an 8-year contract. But Bruins fans have got to be feeling it today. End of an era in Boston, so it's going to be an interesting night for them to see their reactions, especially working with Scott Wetzel later. He's not going to be a happy camper because the Bruins, they just sold off. They waved the white flag and they've given up.
They really have. But you know what? I think we can all agree it's time with that franchise there to kind of kick back and regroup here. All right, so we have plenty going on the ice here tonight. Some very intriguing matchups on the ice here tonight. And let's start with the Winnipeg Jets, who finally won a game the other night here. They'll have an opportunity against the Devils to do it again. Devils, of course, Hughes out, I believe, for the rest of the year. No really big trade deadline moves. So what are we thinking about this Devils team?
Yeah, tough spot for the Devils here. Dougie Hamilton, not 100% either. I don't believe he hit the ice. And the Winnipeg Jets already up 1-0. I do think the Winnipeg Jets should be able to get the win. I originally took them in reg in this game. Now with this one, 1-0 right now for the Winnipeg Jets, really hard for you to jump in on. They should be able to cover the puck line at the end of the day. Laying the 1.5 is coming in at plus 114 live right now, but this is the second night of a back-to-back. So you've got to worry about those tired legs with the Devils coming in nice and fresh into this one. But this is a team that's 4-6 in their last 10. We should see Connor Hellebuck and the Winnipeg Jets do enough. So if this one ties up, that's when I would be looking at the Winnipeg Jets to win it in regulation if you can get that bet in then. But otherwise, if you have to bet it right now, it would be that puck line laying the 1.5 at plus 114. I do think the Devils will struggle to score on Hellebuck.
It looks like the Detroit Red Wings are tired of losing finally. They have jumped all over Washington 2-0 in this game early on. And there are a lot of people thinking, listen, Detroit they're too good to continue down this path here. They seem to have righted the ship early, but it just feels like we're probably getting a lot of goals in this game if we've gotten 2 already in the first.
Yeah, we should be getting a lot of goals. That total sitting at 6.5, and Joe, you can't jump in on it. It's minus 174. But what you can look at here is the Washington Capitals to come back. We know this is a team at home has had these notoriously slow starts in that first period. It's kind of mind-boggling what they've done in some of these first periods, allowing their opponent to really get up nice and strong. But we look at this Red Wings team, and you can't trust them on the kill. So the minute they start taking those penalties, look for the Washington Capitals to really capitalize. Now, they're almost a $2 dog here in this one at home with the Detroit Red Wings up 2-0. So you can look at them at plus 196 on the money line. You could also just play it cautiously at plus 1.5 at minus 128. But I do think either way you go, you should be in for a good night here. I think the Washington Capitals can win it at the end of the day. Look for Ovi on the power play. I've got his power play point tonight. That's coming in. You can still bet it at plus 190. And then Alex DeBrincat on the other side, yet to score a goal here tonight, but DeBrincat is looking for goal number 30. So definitely someone you want to look at.
All right, what are we thinking here? I know a lot of folks here are believing Utah might be a good look tonight against Chicago, but my goodness, I am just weary of trying to fade Chicago in a spot that everyone thinks they're going to lose, and then they end up doing crazy things here. What do we get tonight with the Blackhawks?
Well, we got Spencer Knight in net tonight for the Chicago Blackhawks, and we saw how tall he stood in goal in his debut for this team versus the LA Kings. He stopped 41 of 42 shots on his net. So which Spencer Knight are we going to see? His last couple games with Florida, Joe, you know it. He had a solid production. He didn't take as many shots, 17, 18 shots, only allowing one in that last game for Florida. So I'm expecting a lot out of him here. Utah's not a buy-on team for me. I know they've been playing stronger with Dylan Guenther back in the lineup, returning from injury, and they've actually been winning these games, and they've been costing me my money because I haven't had that faith in Utah. But in this one, I still don't. Against a hot Spencer Knight, look for him to perform again. Really solid between the pipes here for the Chicago Blackhawks in his second game for them, and for the Chicago Blackhawks to be able to put those goals on the board. I've got Chicago's team total over 2.5 goals in this one.
What are we doing with St. Louis and Anaheim? Anaheim, once again, sneaky good, Joe.
St. Louis, let's just lay the puck line. I really do think the St. Louis Blues win this, and they win it big. You're seeing them off that win versus the Kings. They won the 2 versus the Kings. They face the Kings again tomorrow. They're making a push for the playoffs. So you would have thought this team would have been sellers at the trade deadline, but they came out of the break from the Four Nations so hot, Joe, that they decided not to sell off these pieces. So this team is hungry, sitting 5th in the Central right now. Look for them to pick up the points tonight, get that big win. I'd look at the Ducks team total under 2.5, and then for St. Louis to probably struggle tomorrow versus the Kings. But the Kings have Vegas on deck on Sunday. Bad spot for the Kings too.
All right, so I want to get your thoughts on that Vegas team, the late night game. We'll do that as we look to wrap it up. Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room, like you giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flag wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball. When the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. And what a night we have in store for you coming up. Plenty of college basketball tonight, NBA, not to mention NHL. Joe Madden here with us, and of course, her and Scotty Wetzel. They'll have you covered coming up for In-Game Live. No reason for you to have to go anywhere. But before we get you out of here, Joe, talk to me about this Vegas Penguins game, late night bailout special here on the ice tonight. There's no way we can bet the Penguins, right?
There is no way we can bet them, but sort of can bet them. I'm looking for a higher scoring game. So I think both of these teams are going to put the goals on the board tonight. If you're looking at Vegas's team total, isolating that, it's so highly juiced, over 3.5 goals coming in at -134. So I don't love that. So when I'm looking at the Penguins, I do think they can get 3 goals in this game. They don't have to win it, but over 2.5 goals coming in at -110. I do think you see Sidney Crosby come out nice and strong. We've seen the Pittsburgh Penguins play Vegas really solid. They've won 5 of the last 7 meetings versus the Vegas Golden Knights, which is kind of surprising. So look for Sidney Crosby. Look for Raquel to step up. Raquel looking for goal number 30. I really thought he would be part of the trade deadline here, but it looks like he will be staying. And then if you're looking for players for Vegas, Jack Eichel, 2+ points tonight, is coming in at +162. Jack Eichel's had a couple points in the last 2 games. And then Thomas Hertl going further down the list, 2+ points for him at +320. I do think he has every ability, centering that second line on that top power play to put the points on the board. I do see 8-9 goals in this matchup tonight, Joe.
Oh, all right. So you're expecting that to be a fun one here tonight to end the night. Good news is, we get to see you and Scotty in just a couple of minutes as you get everyone ready for this slate of games. So, Joe, thank you very much as always. And her and Scotty will be taking over here in just a couple of minutes for In-Game Live. In the meantime, we've got plenty going on here in the NBA here tonight with the Miami Heat and the Minnesota Timberwolves getting ready for that tip-off here in Miami. Miami getting points, 3.5, 4 points here. And I always love Miami at home getting points in a desperate spot. The total has been bet up now, by the way, to 218 in that one. I'll be taking the points in the Miami Heat. I hate to say it, but I feel like the New York Knicks have to be a play tonight. Getting the 7 points against the Clippers. We did learn that Jalen Brunson out for at least 2 weeks after injuring himself yesterday in overtime against the Lakers, a game in which they had won until, of course, they didn't. But now they're going to have to do it and hold down the fort without Jalen Brunson. They have not been able to beat the elite teams, the mediocre teams, and that is exactly what the Clippers are. They've been able to get it done. I think the Knicks step up here tonight. I'll take the 7. I'll even sprinkle a little something there on the money line. And also coming up, you've got college basketball Big Ten action with Purdue getting ready to go on the road to take on Illinois. Illinois has gotten the money. This opened up 3.5. Illinois now 4.5 point favorite. To me, this is all about the over. I did not understand what the fascination with the market betting this thing down to 158. I think this is going to be an over. I think both teams get into the 80s. So it is an over for me coming up with Purdue and Illinois. Also, 9 o'clock Eastern time. How about South Florida? Talk about just a terrible season. Their coach passes away just before the first game of the season this year. It has been a struggle, but this team has bonded. This team has stayed together. They've been very competitive. And Memphis, well, they already locked up the number 1 seed in the American Athletic Conference. What does that mean? It means they have absolutely no motivation tonight at home taking on this South Florida team. This is their national championship, South Florida. And wouldn't they love to take a bite out of Memphis here tonight before the American Athletic Conference tournament starts next week? I'll take all the points you want to give me with South Florida here tonight. And there you got it. My goodness, what a weekend it is going to be. We got golf, we got hockey, we got basketball. More importantly, we've got in-game live. It's coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Game Time Decisions. We'll see you again soon.